After first fighting criminal charges, Paul Manafort's now cooperating with Special Counsel Robert Mueller. The plea agreement says Manafort must cooperate with the government in any and all matters.
Tough day for Mr. Manafort, but he's accepted responsibility, and he wanted to make sure that his family was able to remain safe.
In court today, Mr. Manafort told the judge, "I plead guilty. The charges, conspiracy against the United States and conspiracy to obstruct justice." In a statement, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said this had absolutely nothing to do with the president or his victorious 2016 presidential campaign. It is totally unrelated. Court documents show Manafort's financial crimes stretched from 2006 to 2017, even while he was working for the Trump campaign. And he failed to register as a foreign lobbyist. According to the documents in 2012, Manafort pushed false stories in the U.S. for his client, then the pro-Russian president of Ukraine. In one example, Manafort aimed to convince the, quote, Obama Jews to support his client by floating a story about anti-Semitic ties to his opponent. I have someone pushing it on the New York Post. Bada bing, bada boom.
If anyone were to know whether or not Donald Trump was involved in any way with the Russian interference in the 2016 election, one would have to think that his campaign manager would be the one to know that.
Mueller will undoubtedly zero in on questions about that 2016 Trump Tower meeting between Donald Trump Jr. and a Kremlin-linked attorney, which Manafort attended. Mr. Trump has consistently downplayed Manafort's 5-month stint on the campaign. More recently, questions have mounted about whether the president would pardon him.
Are you considering pardoning Paul Manafort?
I have great respect for what he's done in terms of what he's gone through.
Paul Manafort touches so many circumstantial pieces of evidence that have been hanging over this investigation. If he is now the chief dot connector, my guess is that is not good news for the president.
And Manafort is the latest in a string of people linked to Mr. Trump who've pleaded guilty and are now cooperating with the special counsel. Tonight, we're learning he's already spoken with Mueller's team.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.